Let's get started by first taking a look at the new V-Ray Vision Viewer. V-Ray Vision is a lightweight real-time viewer that is smoothly integrated into V-Ray 5 for SketchUp. It functions like a game engine under the hood, using 3D rasterization to get you lightning-fast previews without ever having to leave the V-Ray ecosystem. Now, you can adjust your lights, move your camera, and shade your scene with real-time feedback, allowing you to set up your scenes very quickly. We can test materials in the design process, explore designs, play with lighting scenarios, and even walk around and navigate within your scenes in real time. If getting fast results is the highest priority, you can even use V-Ray Vision to export images and export animations to get a rendered preview of your camera in motion. To open up the Vision Viewer, we can simply click on the V-Ray Vision icon up here in the Tools panel. You'll see that it opens in a separate window, which you can position on your screen wherever you'd like. Let's first take a look at some of the controls up top here. At the top left, we have the Live Link icon, which indicates if the Live Link with V-Ray is currently active, and opens up the Live Link panel, where some live session options can be changed. When Live Link is enabled, it means that any changes you make in your SketchUp scene will be automatically updated and displayed in the Vision Viewer. Next, we have a folder icon for loading in VR scene files into the viewer. Next to that, we have the Info icon, which displays useful information such as a handy list of shortcuts. After that, we have the resolution modes, which we can toggle between Fit in Window, which matches the window size and aspect ratio, and Match Scene Aspect, which matches the aspect ratio from the V-Ray render settings, though the size of the image is still determined by the window size. Next, we have the Camera Navigation mode, which lets us use the Tab key to toggle between the standard Orbit mode and Fly mode, which enables me to fly around the scene like in a game engine, using the WASD-QE keys and left-clicking and dragging to look around. You can hold down Shift to temporarily increase the movement speed as well. Next, we have the option to enable or disable auto exposure. Of course, we also have a settings panel, which allows us to tweak various controls from auto exposure to movement speed and sensitivity. You can check out our docs page for more detailed information about these different settings. We also have a color corrections panel. This gives us access to the type of tone mapping applied to the image, as well as standard color correction controls such as exposure, contrast, and so forth. Finally, we have the save options, which let us manage everything from the file format to the output resolution to whether we want to explore an animation, and so forth. Alright, let's move on and do a little exploration of our scene here. You can see that by simply clicking and dragging while moving the mouse around, I'm able to orbit and rotate my perspective. Meanwhile, clicking the middle mouse button and dragging lets me move my position. Now I'd like to demonstrate how I can make changes in SketchUp's viewport as I work, while getting real-time feedback in the viewer thanks to V-Ray Vision's Live Link to SketchUp. Now that I've got the Vision Viewer and SketchUp lined up side by side, let's take a look at how working in my SketchUp scene looks in Vision. To start, we can just do some basic modeling here in SketchUp, and you'll see that it updates right away here in the Vision Viewer. I can navigate around in SketchUp, and my changes are updated and fully lit and shaded with real-time feedback in the viewer. Great! Now that I have some simple geometry here to work with, let's start applying some materials from the V-Ray Asset Editor. For example, I can try out some different brick materials to see what works well for this scene's geometry. Next, I've already prepared some additional geometry in advance for this section, so let's go ahead and unhide these curtains here. I'm also going to place some trees in the scene here. And let's also add in a person. Okay, great. Now that you've seen how we can work to make some quick changes with modeling, shading, and assembling a scene using Vision's Live Link, let's unhide some additional geometry in the scene before we move on to explore lighting. For example, I'm going to unhide this geometry here, and you'll see that if we switch back to Vision, it will show up right away. Since I've already prepared most of this scene in advance, let's go ahead and unhide the rest of the geometry here in SketchUp, and I'll show you how that updates back in Vision. Great! Now let's take a look at tweaking the sunlight using Vision. I'll first make sure we have our sunlight enabled here in SketchUp, and then let's head over to Vision to make some further changes to it. We can easily make changes to the sunlight direction in Vision by holding Shift and using the left mouse button to control its altitude when going up and down, and we can control its azimuth when dragging left and right. You'll see that as I do this, the sunlight adjusts in our scene right away, allowing us to find an ideal position for our camera with real-time feedback. In fact, you can even hold Shift and drag the right mouse button to adjust the sun's intensity up and down. Also, at any time, you can press F5 to reset the sun position and the lighting changes so as to match the original scene state. This is because V-Ray Vision is a viewer, so any changes you make in Vision will not affect the SketchUp scene. Now let's disable the sun for a moment and instead enable a dome light I have set up in advance. You'll see that in Vision, we can also get a preview of the dome light as well, so you have plenty of ways you can light your scene and get real-time feedback. Let's open up the right-hand flyout menu and make some tweaks to the dome light's horizontal rotation parameter. Back in Vision, you'll see that we can see the rotation happening as well, allowing me to quickly make artistic decisions about how to light the scene without needing to wait for a preview. Also, note that when you have the automatic IBL sun option enabled in the Vision settings, Vision will automatically add a directional light based on the brightest spot in the HDR image you're using, to help you get a more accurate lighting preview. However, this option has no effect if the project's sun is enabled, and it is not recommended if an HDR without a visible sun is used. Alright, let's disable the dome light and switch to the final dome light I have set up here for my scene. I'm also going to enable some additional artificial lights that I already set up here in advance, and let's see how that all looks. Okay, great. So far, so good. Now you can see how Vision is able to support various lighting scenarios, ranging from bright and sunny days to dome lights with evening skies and a large number of artificial lights in the scene. Alright, since I'm liking how this scene looks, let's explore how we can work with a camera animation using V-Ray Vision. Back in SketchUp, I'm first going to enable the animation toggle in the Asset Editor settings. I've already set up a straightforward camera animation in SketchUp, so now all we have to do is go back to Vision and press the play button to see a preview of it. Now you can see that we're getting a nice and smooth camera animation in Vision. I think that this looks pretty good, so let's do an export so that I could use this to send to a client, for example. Simply clicking on the save icon, I can specify an output file path. Now, all I have to do is enable the Export Animation checkbox, and it will render out as an animation sequence at the frames per second value we set below. Simply press Export to start the process, and you can watch the resulting preview as it's exporting. Alright, now you've seen a preview of the incredible power of rendering with V-Ray Vision, and how it can both enhance and speed up your workflow with real-time feedback as you develop your scenes. Note that whenever you're finished working on your scene with Vision, you can at any time select the V-Ray 5 render engine of your choice and render out a high-quality ray-traced image or animation. This means you get both the speed advantages of real-time feedback with the option to switch to rendering a fully ray-traced production image.